Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Mod's making funny faces at me here. That's why we always have a good time here at the station. Glad you could be here. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. I know we have new stations picking us up constantly, so I'm really happy if you're a new station. Welcome. My background, so you kind of know what you're getting into, is I'm board certified in chiropractic. I'm board certified in orthopedics. I'm board certified in pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author. This show is heard coast to coast and around the world. And the goal of this show is to get you to naturally get well and stay well. I want to teach you the things you can do naturally to keep your body healthy. And if you're a regular listener, you know I usually talk about nutrition and biochemistry and digestion and chiropractic. But today we're going to talk about something that so many of you are exposed to. In fact, every one of you listening is being exposed to this, and it can be having major adverse effects on your health, and you're not even aware of it. And I'm going to give you little tips on what you can do to fix this. And that's something called electromagnetic frequency. And you're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Joe, what the heck is electromagnetic frequency? Right? It was Steve Martin said that. But Steve, what the heck is electromagnetic frequencies? These are electrical fields that are around you all the time. Cell phones, Wi-Fi, electrical fields running through wires. These electromagnetic frequencies can cause excessive damage to something called the mitochondria in your cell. Now, today's show, we're going to get a little technical. So if I lose you, stop me, okay? And you could stop me. If you have a healthcare question, by the way, you can call us on any healthcare question, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE is the line here at the studio. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. But if you get lost, I'm going to take this show, I'm going to archive it on my website so that you can kind of review it again. If you have questions, you can always send them me through the website, too, if you don't want to get on the air. So electromagnetic frequencies affect something called the mitochondria in your cell. The mitochondria are the part of your cell that produce energy. And so if the mitochondria aren't working properly, the cell can't do its job. Now, you might recognize it as fatigue or brain fog. That could be mitochondrial issues. But ultimately, if the mitochondria can't produce the right amount of energy, the cell can die, which means you can die. One of the problems we have with statin drugs. If you take a statin drug to lower your cholesterol, which may be necessary, I'm not saying it's not, but the same enzyme that produces cholesterol produces something called coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10. And CoQ10 is necessary to fuel the mitochondria to produce energy. Did you follow that? So that's why so many people on statin drugs are tired, because the cells are not getting the CoQ10 from the liver, because the same enzyme that makes the cholesterol makes the liver. You take the statin drug, you don't produce the cholesterol. You don't produce the right amounts of CoQ10. So my advice, and again, I'm not your medical doctor, so if you always want to check with your physician, as we say at the top of every show, if you're taking statin drugs, I would strongly advise you also take coenzyme Q10. There's two types, ubiquinone, O-N-E it ends, and ubiquinol. Take the ubiquinol, O-L. That's the kind that you need, the coenzyme Q10 that you need to make the body work. So back to electromagnetic frequencies. Now, one of the challenges I have, I was talking to my very dear friend Monica before I went on the air today, and she said, "Oh, what's your show about?" And I said, "Electromagnetic frequencies." And she went, "What?" So I tried explaining it, and I said, one of the challenges we have, and she's a host as well, wonderful host, a radio host as well, is we have to try to make things digestible or easy to understand. So the key is to translate science into clear and understandable language. Because if I can't explain it to you, you just wasted time listening to me, and I don't want you to do that. And then I want to offer practical recommendations on how to remediate the problem, how to fix it, which is what we do in every show. Now, if you're swimming in an invisible ocean of electromagnetic frequencies, which we all are, it's nearly impossible to avoid exposure. Microwave exposure, like the microwave from your house. That's a dangerous type of electromagnetic field as well. That creates ionizing electromagnetic fields or non-ionizing. Don't worry about that big word there. But there's ways to reduce it, and that's what I want to talk about, because I want you to understand what it's doing to you so that you can understand what you need to do to stop it, or at least reduce it. One of the tricks I do, and before I went on the air, Monica said, I talked a little bit about what happens is, in your cell, you have a channel where you absorb calcium into the cell. Okay, got me so far? So it's a calcium absorption site. An electromagnetic frequency opens up this channel and allows a ton of calcium to be dumped into the cell. And when too much calcium gets into the cell, it goes through a chain reaction and causes some real serious problems, some of them being heart arrhythmias, where the heart beats irregularly. That's why if you have heart problems, they'll put you on what's called a calcium channel blocker. It blocks you from absorbing too much calcium. So too much calcium in the cell is bad. You need some, but not too much. And the electromagnetic frequencies open up the cells and dump this calcium into the body. Now you're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Joe, you're a chiropractor. Why are you so worried about this? Well, as a chiropractor, I worry about the nervous system. I want to make sure you don't have pinched nerves, because if you have a pinched nerve, it hurts, but 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So you can have a pinched nerve and not know it. But some of the highest concentration of these calcium receptor sites are in the nervous system. So one of the challenges we face, my team of doctors, as chiropractors, is we're trying to get you well, and you're exposing yourself to things like electromagnetic frequencies, which is now affecting the nervous system, which means you're not healing as quickly. And you say, well, Dr. Joe, I've been to you guys, and I love this one. I've been here twice, and I haven't seen 100% results. Well, you know, the guy who did that, he wore sandals. That was 2,000 years ago. I don't do the miracles. You got to work with us to get well. And so if you're exposing yourself to electromagnetic frequency as our patient, you may not be getting the results that you want. So one of the things I want you to do is notice where these electromagnetic frequencies come from, and one of them is Wi-Fi. So if you have Wi-Fi in your house, I want you to shut down the Wi-Fi whenever you're using it. And what I do is I have a button, and I shut off the Wi-Fi when I go to sleep at night. Just shut it down, because you don't want to expose yourself to these electromagnetic frequencies. Got to go to a break. We got to talk about cell phones. Of course, cell phones going to be big. All right, we come back and talk about cell phones and what you need to do to stop yourself from getting exposed to all these electromagnetic frequencies. If you have a question, we're going to open up the phone lines, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE, if you have questions. Again, that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. My website, drjoeesposito.com, which is Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. And we're going to archive this and hundreds of hours of shows on the website as well. Hey, got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. A lot to talk about. We're going to be right back. Hey, thanks for listening. So glad you're spending a little time with me today. Hopefully, we're going to give you lots of good information that's going to turn your life around, because it usually does. That's what's cool about these shows. Every day, I get emails from all around the world, and people who listen say, thank you so much for what you've done, because in your last show, you talked about blah, 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 and how amazing it was. In fact, somebody just came into the studio before, and they saw my notes from last show. We talked about chronic stress and how it promotes disease. And they said, oh, my gosh, tell me about that, blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot of good information. And that's why we archive the shows on my website, drjoeesposito.com. And we're talking today about electromagnetic frequency. If you don't know what that is, you need to listen, because you are swimming in it right now, and you didn't even know it. Now, you're going to be exposed to it. You can't stop it, unless you're somewhere up in the mountains maybe, and you don't get cell phone reception. That's probably a good sign. But if you're getting cell phone reception, if you have Wi-Fi around you, you're being exposed to these toxic chemicals. So your cell phone, this is a biggie, and this is something I want you to start doing right away. Because, again, as a chiropractor, I'm very worried about your nervous system. And electromagnetic frequencies affect the calcium receptor sites in your nervous system, which dump too much calcium into the cells, which cause, I'll talk about if I have time, how it affects what's called free radicals and how they start to attack the body, and peroxidases and things like that. But today we're talking about things you can do right away. And cell phones, if you have a cell phone, do you have one? Say yes. Okay. Have more than one? Bet a lot of you do. There's more cell phones than people in this country, so obviously a lot of you have more than one. What I want you to do is not carry it close to your body if at all possible. So, for example, there's been a lot of studies out where people carry it in their one pocket, and they can measure the bone density of one hip versus the other, and they find that the one hip where the cell phone is many times has less bone density. And it affects your reproductive organs. Gentlemen, you need to listen to this. This is extremely important. Ladies, too, but the men always get nervous when you talk about sperm. So if you carry it in your front pocket, it can lower your sperm count dramatically, 8-10%. And also not just the count, but the mobility, how well they move around. So if you have a cell phone, I don't want you to put it next to your head. What? How am I going to use my phone if I don't put it next to my head? If you break out the instructions in your cell phone packet, chances are you never read that little packet that came along with it. In there, many cell phones, maybe all, but I know a lot of them that I've read, clearly state, do not put this next to your head, which makes no sense because it's a cell phone. Do not put it next to your head. They want you to hold it about an inch away from your head because that closeness, the electromagnetic frequency, can actually heat up your skull and then can adversely affect your brain. Again, as a chiropractor, when the brain sends messages down the spine, out the nerves to the body, I want to make sure you're taking care of your brain, and most of you aren't by using a cell phone. So what do you do? Well, a couple of options. Number one, if you're going to use your cell phone, hold it a little bit away from your head because sometimes I don't have my earpiece with me and I get a phone call. Or get an earpiece, a wired earpiece, not the wireless ones. That's no good. The wired ones, and then plug it into your ear. It has a little microphone on it. It costs about $5 to get one with a microphone on it. You want to get really crazy, you could spend $10. And then take your cell phone and put it as far away from your body as you can. And in fact, up to 3 feet is what's recommended. If you hold it about 3 feet away from your body, and someone recommended using a selfie stick, and I said, that's not a bad idea, you're going to decrease your exposure by about 90%. So using an earpiece and holding it far away. So if you're in your car, you can't have a selfie stick or something, put it on the far seat, as far away as you can. Extend that wire on your earpiece as far as you can. When it's not in use, if you can, like for example at night, if you're not expecting any emergency calls, put your cell phone in airplane mode. Because what that will do is that will then prevent it from constantly receiving. And as long as it's constantly sending and receiving, you're going to get these electromagnetic frequencies. And what happens is when you damage the cells, you have to heal the cells. So we're going to talk about, too, as we're going to do this as a continuing on this, we're going to talk about nutrition and the things that you can eat every day to help fix the damage from this electromagnetic frequency that's happening. Wouldn't that be cool? Now, I always say when it comes to nutrition, you have to eat something anyway. You might as well eat good food. I went out the other day. I went out with a bunch of people, and we were going apple picking, actually. And we were driving up. It was earlier in the morning, and it was a Sunday, and it was nothing open at this point. And we found a grocery store that was open. And a grocery store had, of course, groceries everywhere. And one of the gals, who's getting healthy now, finally, they had a salad bar. And she said, I'm just going to have a salad. I know it's kind of a weird breakfast food. She had a big salad and some potato salad, which may not have been the best choice, but a better choice. I just grabbed a bag of organic nuts, and we had some water. And then other people ate bad things. They had, typical breakfast foods. And about 2 hours later, after walking up and down the hills, picking apples, you can see the people that ate well. Lots of energy, excited, fun, joking, having a great time. The other people are starting to drag. I'm getting a little tired, man. It's a place I could sit down. And so you see it, and you see it in yourself. Because if you're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs to function normally, it can't work. So what happens is when you get too much calcium into the body, and if I have time, like I said, I'll go through the chemistry of it. I was discussing it with my friend Monica before I went on. It's pretty in-depth, the chemistry. I don't know if I want to blow your brains with it. But you got to eat things that are high in what's called antioxidants. And antioxidants fight the free radicals. Free radicals are like Pac-Man. They attack things. And if you're exposing yourself to tons of free radicals, that can cause problems, just like we're talking about here. If electromagnetic frequency, through a process, electrically can create these free radicals chemically. So things like fruits and vegetables loaded with antioxidants, supplements. I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day. I have it sitting right here in front of me. Because every day, your body's being exposed to these toxins, and you need the minimum amount of nutrients to get your body working. So not only does it give you antioxidants, it helps give you the nutrients that your body needs to function normally. In a radio station, we have a lot of electromagnetic frequencies around here. I'm being exposed to it right now. I want to keep myself healthy, but I'm not going to, end my radio career. So what do? I do things like take my cell phone, put it far away, shut off the Wi-Fi when I'm home, and take things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, minimum. And then I eat a good diet, too. I eat a lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So a lot more to talk about. We have to talk about how sugar affects your exposure to electromagnetic frequencies. Yeah, sugar. Too much sugar can actually make the electromagnetic frequency damage worse. Not a good thing. So if you have a question, I'm going to open up the phone lines. The number is 844-44-Dr. Anything on healthcare. You don't have to be something as in-depth as this. 844-44-Dr. My website is drjoeesposito.com. And on the website, we archive radio shows. We have articles. If you have questions, send them to me through the website. More than happy to answer your questions for you. If you want to get more information about Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, that's on the website as well. drjoeesposito.com. Really good website, by the way. A lot of good, basic, simple information. And if you send us your email address, I'll put you on my newsletter. It's free, and it's no charge. We send out lots of good information, and we don't bombard you, so don't worry about it. Also, I want you to follow me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram, because we send out information when I'm giving live lectures. I videotape my lectures, too, by the way, and those are on the website as well. So if you're a visual person, you could watch the lectures. If you're an auditory person, you can listen to radio shows. If you like to communicate, you can send me questions. We want to be your doctors. My team of doctors, we really want to be your doctors. We want to do what we can to help you get well and stay well. I got to go to break. If you have a question, 844-44-DR-JOE. Lines are lighting up right now, 844-44-DR-JOE. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. I do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking today about something that's really important. So I want to make sure if you're just tuning in, I catch you up. And if you have friends that need to listen to this, call them on your cell phone. Not held next to your ear. Of course, we just talked about that. You don't want to hold your cell phone next to your ear because you get something what's called electromagnetic frequencies. And these electromagnetic frequencies, we're swimming in them every day. And it's turning out now, we always knew they cause damage, but the new research, we found out why. And I was just talking to Ahmad before I came on for this segment. And I said, listen, Ahmad, if I get too complicated or too technical, I said, flag me down because I don't want to lose anybody because it's a lot of chemistry we're going to talk about today. But I want you to understand the dangers of it. And just about everyone listening to my show right now, the majority of radiation that you're being exposed to, or this electromagnetic frequency, is not coming from outside your home. It's coming from inside your home. So things like your Wi-Fi, things like your wireless mouse, your wireless keypad, little things like this. You would think, it's no big deal. These things are all adding up. And what happens is, just to catch you up for what we talked about earlier, when you're exposed to electromagnetic frequency, it opens up these calcium receptor sites. I'm trying to keep it simple, not use the big chemistry terms. The calcium receptor sites open up, and a bunch of calcium dumps into the cell. And that calcium causes a lot of damage to the cells. And through a series of events, it affects what's called the mitochondria, which produce energy, and your DNA. Now, you've heard the word DNA. Your DNA is the thing that tells the cell to become a cell. The DNA tells the liver cell to be a liver cell, and your eye cell to become an eye cell, and your toenail to be a toenail. And when you start affecting the DNA, it changes the way the cell works. And what can happen is it can alter the way the DNA the way the DNA makes the cell grow, but also the way the DNA makes the cell die. You know, there's a song, God, I can't think of it now. I've seen how love can grow, now I see how it dies. Figure that one out. Ahmad, it's an old one before your time. I can sing it in my head, but you don't want me singing on the air. But anyway, the cells grow, and then the cells die. And when the cells die, it's called apoptosis. I just love that word. Apoptosis is when a cell commits suicide, basically. It's lived its life, it's as good as it can be, and it dies. And so what happens there is the DNA is altered. It doesn't go into apoptosis. And the cell starts to replicate but doesn't die out, the old ones. And now we have something called cancer. So we're seeing when the channel cells open up and affect the DNA and affects the mitochondria, it can change the structure of the cell. In fact, I just got a message on Facebook from a friend of mine, Mike, and he said, don't forget to talk about electromagnetic frequencies and breast cancer. And I said, I will. I'm getting there. Because what we're finding now is women that carry their cell phones in their bras, they have a higher incidence of breast cancer on the side that they put the cell phone on. And usually it's in one quadrant of the breast, and when it's in different quadrants of the breast, a different quadrant means a section, we oftentimes it's related to electromagnetic frequencies. So it's really dangerous stuff, and I want you to think about this. You carry your cell phone all day, every day with you. Put it away from your body. When you're home, if you have to have the cell phone on, if you can put it on airplane mode, do that. Like if you use it as an alarm, like I do. If you're expecting emergency calls, put the cell phone 25 feet away. That's what their recommendation is now. It used to be 10 feet. Now it's 25 feet away. So you're not getting electromagnetic frequencies. A lot to talk about on electromagnetic frequencies, but I don't want to ignore the callers either. If you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-DR-JOE. Tracy, how can we help you today?
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Joe. I was just calling to see if there's any way to treat type 1 diabetes without medication or with less medication.
Okay, the answer is yes. Now, again, I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't treat anything. I just help you get well. Yeah, what happens is with type 1 diabetes, your pancreas isn't producing the proper amounts of insulin. In type 2 diabetes, just to get the listeners caught up, you're producing insulin, but the cells, you've produced so much insulin, the insulin is trying to open up the cells and make them absorb the sugar, and the cells can't take any more sugar, so the cells become insulin resistant. And that's called type 2 diabetes. You have the insulin, you're just not utilizing it properly. Type 1, you don't have the insulin. So a couple of things you can do. Now, again, chances are you'll probably always need some medication. That just is how it is. But a high-fiber diet is going to work wonders for anyone, especially people with diabetes. And about 50% of us, it's going to be predicted next couple of years, are going to be diabetic or pre-diabetic. So 50% of us have to be doing this. The other 50% probably are doing it already. High fiber, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds are going to push the food through your colon and give you a slow release of sugar. So you don't get this big rush of sugar, which then strains or stresses the pancreas. So high fiber is going to be a key for type 1 diabetics. There's also a supplement that helps stabilize blood sugar called Gymnema, Gymnema. And that's something I use with my diabetic patients as well to help stabilize the blood sugar. Also is wonderful to help fight sugar cravings. Works really well. And then, of course, you have to avoid simple sugars, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pasta, sugar, and that would work. Now, as a chiropractor, I always check the middle of the back of my diabetics because the sixth thoracic nerve is the nerve that controls the pancreas. So that may be a contributing factor as well. If you have a pinched nerve there, we have to fix it.
Okay, so it would be a good idea to get that looked at too, and then follow all of the steps that you're telling me right now.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I would do if I was a type 1 diabetic.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thanks, Tracy. I appreciate it. Let's go to Kay. Kay, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe. I thank you for being on the radio. That's how I heard about you. And I bought your books. I came to get your adjustments. I've been going about 10 weeks, and my improvement is so much. I just wanted to call and say thank you. I don't have the sour stomach anymore. I don't have the diarrhea anymore. I don't have cravings anymore. My diabetes is getting better. I've gone from 16 units of lettuce down to 9.
Wow.
I've lost 7 pounds, and I'm 74 years old. And so this is really big to me. It might not sound like a lot to other people. I stopped drinking after 3, and I don't have to get up every hour to go to the bathroom. The list just goes on. And I want to thank you, too, because you work with us the way we are, not the way we should be. And that's really big in my book. So I wanted to call and say thank you.
You know, I just got chills, Kay, when you said that. When you said that we work with you how you are, not the way you should be. Well, thank you. Thank you for noticing that. I really appreciate that. And we look forward to helping you get better. Okay.
I know that we don't do everything exactly the way you say, and yet the improvement comes anyway. That's just wonderful. It's just great.
Okay, I want to thank you for calling in because what you just said probably helped hundreds of thousands of listeners across the country. So thank you very much for calling in. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, sweetie. Have a great day. Bye-bye. And yeah, I'm a little teary-eyed right now. That's so great. And you know, what's great about what I do and my team of doctors do is we hear this story, what Kay just said, all day, every day. And we try to give patients what they want. Now, here's something I want to tell you, too. If you're a patient or you're going to come in as a patient or you work with us, tell us what you want so we can work with you. We assume that what we're giving you is what you need, but like Kay said, that may not be what you want. So if you're not happy with something, we're not giving you what you want, tell us so we can fix it. Don't get mad. We never do anything mean. Might be that we're ignorant to something, but we're never mean. So, Ahmad, I can't go to break. I'm sorry. I have too much to cover here. All right, Ahmad's telling me I got to go to break. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. And if you have a question, we have the lines open, 844-44-Dr. Joe. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Hey, folks, got to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. At the break, call your friends. Tell them to listen. We're going to be right back. Tell them to listen. Thanks for listening. Do appreciate you taking time today to be with me. And thanks for telling your friends about the show, too, because I can always tell when I'm on the air. So many folks follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. I look at my accounts and they just light up, and I appreciate that because we send out a lot of good information. I shouldn't say a lot. We send out information. We're not going to bombard you with a lot of information because otherwise it just gets overwhelming. You don't pay attention. But also I do live lectures, and live lectures are a blast. And we send out when I'm speaking, and I want you, if you follow us, you'll know about that and come on out because I can show you things at the live lectures I can't show you on the radio because so much of healthcare is physical, not chemical. This is the trend. It's interesting. I had a patient come in the other day, and we found something on her X-ray. We weren't sure what it was. We sent her out to an oncologist. Oncologist looked at the X-ray and said, yes, you have pancreatic cancer. Well, she lost her mind. She went to another doctor who said, you can't diagnose cancer on an X-ray. You can see something that didn't feel good about it. He checked it and said, it might not be cancer. It might be. And then anyway, we went on and on and on. And it turns out she does have potentially stage 1 cancer. Okay. So she said, so what do we do about this? And I said, the new research in cancer is what I've been talking about for years, and it's immunotherapy. Instead of treating the cancer, and I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not telling you how to treat your cancer, but I'm telling you what the research is, because this is what I study. The research is showing that if we can get your immune system to work better, hopefully that will then fight the cancer, because what we've been doing is trying to kill the cancer cells, but that doesn't treat the cause of the problem. It treats the symptoms. Sometimes you have to treat the symptoms. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, yes, chiropractic care is awesome in many cases. But sometimes you just need to stop the pain now. And that's why we work with a team of medical doctors that can do spinal injections, that can do surgery, that can do MRIs, because we work together as a team to get you the best results. And so for years, we've been talking about getting the body healthy, and now the new research, I love that, is coming out, immunotherapy for cancer patients. Well, good. I'm glad. But we also need to talk about things like sugar that feeds the cancer. We need to talk about things like electromagnetic frequency, which we're talking about today. Because electromagnetic frequency changes the DNA, and the DNA, if it doesn't function properly, can cause the cells to become cancerous. We talked about that a little earlier. Now, if you have a microwave in your house, I want you to consider getting rid of it. What that does, if you have a microwave oven, that will change the cells as well. So I don't have a microwave oven in my house anymore. I got rid of it because I hardly ever used it. The only thing I ever used it for was to clean my sponge. That was the one thing it was good for, because it's so highly damaging to the cells, the microwave radiation, that if you put the sponge in there, it kills the viruses, germs, and bacteria. But I didn't want that leaking out and getting into my body either. So I just got rid of it. It's very simple. So most of the damage that you have is inside your house and inside your workplace, not on the outside. That's where you're getting things like microwave radiation, electromagnetic frequencies. So a lot of studies show that when you're exposed to the electromagnetic frequencies, the cells change because of calcium. If you're just tuning in, I want to catch you up on that. You have things in your cell called voltage-gated calcium channels. A big fancy word, but basically it's where calcium is absorbed into the cell. And when you expose yourself to electromagnetic frequencies, these voltage-gated calcium channels open up and dump all the calcium into the cell. About 1 million calcium ions per second per voltage-gated calcium channel. The more voltage-gated calcium channels you have, receptor sites, the more calcium you're going to get. The heart, the nervous system, these are where we have a lot of these voltage-gated calcium channels. And so as a chiropractor, when you're exposing yourself to these toxic electromagnetic frequencies, you may not be responding as well as you want to. And I don't want you blaming my team of doctors. I want you to say, wow, what else can I do to help get well? So that's why we do this show. It's a little different than what we usually do, but I'm glad you're listening today. Let's start taking some callers. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Cindy, how can we make your day better?
Yes. By the way, I've been listening to you for years, and you've done a great job just informing the public. I really appreciate you being there for us.
Thank you, Cindy.
Keloids.
Yes.
When I was younger, I used to have keloids all the time. They're less now, but I still have them.
Uh-huh.
And now my daughter is having them, and she's also having things like fibrous with what is it,
endometriosis, fibrous cysts, sure.
Right,
Fibroids,
things like that are all kind of related to the same kind of condition. Any suggestions of diet changes that may help that situation? Nothing will prevent it, but, you know, help it.
Sure. So what happens is a keloid, for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a scar. It's a scar that's just bigger than the average scar. It's scar tissue. And so many times blacks will get it worse than whites. If you cut yourself, you'll see blacks will get bigger scars. And this is one of the issues we have as chiropractors, because if you're seeing keloids on your skin and you're seeing things like fibroid tumors, you're also getting keloids forming most likely in the spinal area. If you get in a car accident, the muscles and ligaments can tear, and you can develop keloids internally as well as externally. So this is why it's so important, and I'm going to answer your question in a second. I'm just on a soapbox for a second, Cindy, is if you've been in a car accident, sports injury, you fall, you hurt yourself, if you have pain for more than 2 or 3 days, you definitely want to get it checked by a spinal expert. Because if these bones are out of alignment and you don't put them back in alignment, those keloids and scar tissue can get worse and worse, and it's going to be a lot harder to fix. And that's why I tell people, if you're ever in a car accident, I was driving today, I saw a horrible car accident, and I watched the people's heads snap around. And I said, every one of them have scar tissue forming right now. And if you're getting keloids, that's bigger scars. So what do we do about it? Number one, if it's visible, massage works great. Getting to a good massage therapist, you can get in there and actually break up some of the scar tissue. As far as fibrous tumors go, you have to stay away from all caffeine. So that's coffee, tea, chocolate, of course. Any type of stimulant, we know that makes the fibrous tissue worse. Also, I talk about the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener. You have to stay away from them. It is what it is. I mean, I have to wear glasses. I don't like wearing glasses, but if I want to see, I have to wear glasses. If you have fibrous issues, you have to stay away from these things unless you want them to get worse. The other thing that works real well with things like endometriosis and fibroid tumors is getting a lot of antioxidants in the body. Eating raw food, which lots of enzymes in it. So I would recommend at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, and at least something raw at every meal. Salad, broccoli, cucumbers. Okay?
Awesome.
Got to go to break, Cindy. Thanks so much. Folks, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, my website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. If you want to order Super Greens or get more information, Essential Source, that's on the website as well, drjoeesposito.com. Also available on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, you can order it there too. Hey, got to go to break. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Tell your friends about the show. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. Glad you could spend a little time with me today. Good topic today. Boy, oh boy, it's just creating a lot of buzz here. A lot of folks sending me questions on Facebook, on my website, drjoeesposito.com. A lot of callers calling in. We're talking about electromagnetic frequencies. And electromagnetic frequencies are electromagnetic frequencies that are produced by things like your cell phone, Wi-Fi, electrical wires in your house. And these things, we always knew they caused problems, but we never knew how. And what's really neat is there's new research out, because you know me, always researching, and it's a Dr. Martin Paul, his name's PhD, and he's found out that what happens is the electromagnetic frequencies activate something called the voltage-gated calcium channels. Basically, it's where calcium is absorbed into the cell. And each time you're exposed to the electromagnetic frequencies, it opens up these receptor sites and dumps a ton of calcium into the cells. And once activated, they allow about 1 million calcium ions per second per receptor site. Or when I say receptor site, voltage-gated calcium channel. And when all that calcium gets into the cell, it creates a cascade effect, which causes problems in the cell, which can actually cause the cells to mutate or actually die. And if it mutates the DNA, it can cause some real serious problems. And the places we have some of the most highly concentrated receptor sites are the heart and the nervous system. And this is why a lot of electromagnetic frequencies now may be being blamed with tachycardia, rapid heart rate. And they give you something called calcium blockers or calcium channel blockers to block you from absorbing so much calcium. But no one's addressing, well, some people are addressing the fact that why is the calcium being absorbed so quickly to begin with? And it could be because something as simple as Wi-Fi or your cell phones. So if you have tachycardia, if you have heart problems, you really got to pay attention. But I don't want you getting it to begin with. So that's where a lot of the problems come in. And that's how these weak EMFs work. And when they start affecting your health, you may not realize that's where it's coming from. It turns out it's absolutely critical because when there's excess calcium, the number of things happen. Let me see if I can try to explain this real simple, then I'll go back to the callers. If you have a question, keep hanging on. If you have a question, give me a call at 844-44-Dr. Joe. Not just about this, about anything. Not only do you get excess calcium, but you get increased nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide can be good because it opens up your blood vessels, but if you have too much of it, that's when it becomes a problem. Excessive nitric oxide reacts with something called superoxide. Now, this is where the chemistry comes in. Superoxide level also raise in response to intercellular calcium. So if you have just nitric oxide, not that big a deal. But when you have this superoxide with the nitric oxide, that's when you start getting the problems. And together they form something called peroxynitrite. And peroxynitrite is where you get it causes the oxidative stress. It starts to break down the cells. So nitric oxide by itself, good. Nitric oxide when it's around superoxide, not good. And that's when it creates the peroxynitrites, which then cause the reactions that cause the damage. And this Dr. Paul, his research is brilliant. I think this guy should get a Nobel Prize. After reading it over, I said, wow, this guy just, blew me away. Most of the damage is done by excessive free radicals, but some damage is done directly from the peroxynitrite. So you're getting a double whammy on the cells, causing a lot of serious damage. So nitric oxide, good. So we can do things like beets. Beets are high in nitrates, and when they get into your body, they produce nitric oxide, which opens up your blood vessels. Arugula, about 10 times more nitrates than beets. Great for producing nitric oxide, opening up your blood vessels, increases circulation to your brain, increases circulation to your reproductive organs. It's a family show, trying to keep it clean here. And so you get good circulation. But when you have the other things that go along with the electromagnetic frequencies and the calcium dumping into the cells, like the superoxide, that's when you have the problems. Now, if you don't have enough nitric oxide, I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a second, then I'll get to the callers. Nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels, increases circulation to the brain, the heart, and it could be due to the fact that you're eating too much high fructose corn syrup. When you eat high fructose corn syrup, fructose has to be converted into glucose. Glucose is the type of sugar that your cells use. It makes your cells run. It gives you energy. Well, in the process, if you do more than about 20 or 30 grams a day of fructose, it converts into uric acid. Now, uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. Now, as a chiropractor, my team of doctors, their concern is to get you well. And if you're eating a lot of fructose, creating this uric acid getting into the joints and hurting, you might be getting the best chiropractic care in the world. But if you keep doing the things that is counterproductive to what we're trying to do, you're not going to get all the results that you want. So you got to be careful with that. So stay away from the high fructose corn syrup is the bottom line. And uric acid prevents the nitric oxide production. That's where I was going with this. So the uric acid gets into joints and it hurts. It prevents nitric oxide production, so it can affect your circulation. So it's pretty wild how this all starts to tie back and forth. But when you have too much calcium, this is what Dr. Paul has found in his research, PALL, is that the calcium, the channels open up, you dump too much calcium, and that's when you start getting the problems. Now, I know that was a lot of chemistry, but the bottom line is that I want you to stay away from these electromagnetic frequencies. So I'm going to have to go to break soon, but Derek, I know you're on hold. I'm going to answer your question, so hold on. When I come back, I'm going to cover that. Derek wants to know, what do you do to get the cells to heal once they've been exposed to the electromagnetic frequencies? And that's what I was going to cover. But Derek, keep holding on. I'm going to take that too. We also have a couple of questions on Facebook coming in. We have some people that didn't want to go on the air. They want to learn about hypoglycemia. Folks, the show's hot tonight. So if you have a question, you give us a call. The number is 844-44-Dr. My website is drjoeesposito.com. And one of the things I'm going to talk about to heal the cells is giving yourself antioxidants. Antioxidants fight the free radicals and allow the cells to heal. I take something called Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source every day, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day if I'm going on a date, if I'm going hiking, if I got a big lecture coming up, because it gives me the nutrients my body needs for my brain and my cells to work at their optimum level. Another reason you want to take it is because of all the electromagnetic frequencies you're being exposed to. So every day it seems like there's a new reason why somebody should be taking at least Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Relatively inexpensive. Those are on my website, drjoeesposito.com. Also, if you have an Amazon account, we have them available on Amazon. My books are there as well, other supplements. If you have questions, you could send them to me through the website, drjoeesposito.com. Folks, got to go to break. Ahmad's telling me I got to move here. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for listening. Do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're talking today about an interesting topic and obviously getting a lot of buzz here. I want to thank some of the folks that started following me on Facebook just in the past few minutes. Sandy, Tina, Cindy, Patricia, Carrie, Liza. Folks, follow me on Facebook and follow me on Instagram as well, because we send out lots of good information on the website, on Facebook and Instagram. And also my website is drjoeesposito.com. And if you send us your email address through the website, I'll gladly put you on our newsletter as well. And somebody sent me a message and said, Dr. Joe, you don't talk enough about children and natural health care and chiropractic. And you're right. Gail, you're absolutely right. I've been wrong. And we need to talk more about kids, because kids, if the spine is straight, it grows straight. If it's crooked, it grows crooked. So many times children have problems. They fall, that when they're being born, pulled out of the mommy, the neck is twisted, and they have issues with their spine. And if it's not fixed right away, it becomes a problem. Somebody called earlier about keloids. You can get damage to the spine at birth, and that can cause tearing of the muscles and ligaments, which can cause then scar tissue, which can then lead to long-term problems later on in life. So children, absolutely. When patients come in, we always say, please bring your children and let us check them. If there's a problem, we'll tell you. If there's not, we'll tell you that too. And as far as electromagnetic frequencies go in children, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, let a child use a cell phone next to their head, because their skulls are a lot thinner than our adult skulls, and those electromagnetic frequencies can actually change the structure of the brain cells right where the ear is. So at least put them on an earpiece or a speakerphone. And that's what you should be doing too. A wired earpiece, not a wireless, a wired earpiece, because that's vital for the children's skull because it's so much thinner than ours. All right, let's go back to the callers. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Derek, thanks for hanging on. How can we make your day better?
Hi. Yeah, I actually had the question about what I could do to consume or not consume if because there's no not being around Wi-Fi for what I do.
Right.
And I also wondered if it would be causing my Tourette's while I was on hold. I was just curious, or if that's just stress.
Could be both. It's really hard to say which one it is, but why not avoid it? Those are simple things that you can do. One of the things you can do from a nutritional standpoint is get more magnesium into your body, because magnesium and calcium work together. And if you have too much of this calcium being dumped into the body, you need to get more magnesium. Now, where do we get magnesium from? Well, you can take a magnesium supplement. There's certain brands, I won't say brand names on the air because they're not paying for advertising. But eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, nuts are very high in magnesium, and magnesium helps with balance out the calcium. Most people are magnesium deficient. And so most people need to be taking magnesium anyway, but if you're being exposed to a lot of electromagnetic frequencies, magnesium is going to be important. So going to a more plant-based diet is definitely something that's going to help you tremendously. Okay, with me so far?
Yeah, so like kale, spinach.
Absolutely. Kale, spinach, broccoli, salads every day. At least one meal a day should be a salad for everyone, but especially for someone like you. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, loaded with those important nutrients that your body needs to fight the free radical reaction that's occurring. And again, the magnesium is going to be a biggie as well. Making sure the bowels are moving. The bowels should move 2 to 3 times a day. If the bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, a lot of the toxic waste products can build up in the body. And when they build up in the body, that can cause a problem as well. And then also there's something called NRF2. Now, NRF2 is it upregulates what's called superoxide dismutase, which fights the superoxide. And superoxide is the thing that's causing the damage. It lowers inflammation. It helps your mitochondria work better. It stimulates the mitochondria to make new mitochondria. It detoxifies the body. It activates what's called the transcription, or building over 500 different genes in the body. So how do we get more NRF2? You want to consume, guess what? More fruits and vegetables. Sulforaphane comes from what's called cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, mustard greens. And anything that's going to have the sulfur in it is going to help activate this. Making sure you're getting enough omega-3 fatty acids. Most people don't get enough omega-3 fatty acids, and there's different forms. Fish oil is the most common form that people think about. Not a big fan of fish oil. Number one, because many times it's contaminated with mercury. So if you're going to do fish oil, make sure it's mercury-free. Krill oil is a better choice. It's in what's called the phospholipid form, which makes it easier to absorb. But I do algae oil. Algae oil is the most expensive of them, but I'm a vegan. I don't eat animal products. So the algae oil is going to be the purest form of omega-3 fatty acids. I recommend the average person take 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids a day. And that's going to help with the inflammation as well. Carotenoids, like lycopene, for example, get those from brightly colored vegetables. Sulfur compounds from garlic and onions is going to help as well. And then something called isothiocyanates from cabbage is going to help as well. So a lot more vegetables is really going to be the key for you. And then I would add the super greens and the essential source.
Should I stay away from milk or other things that have calcium?
Milk is not a good form of calcium because, unfortunately, even though it's high in calcium, once it's pasteurized, the calcium binds to casein, which is a protein in milk. So there's not a lot of free calcium in milk, meaning that it's usable. It's bound to casein. And you need an enzyme called renin to break down the casein, so you can't get a lot of calcium. And in fact, studies have shown that people with osteoporosis, the more dairy products they consume, the higher the rate of osteoporosis. So it's better you get your calcium from plant sources like nuts and vegetables. It all goes back to the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. That's going to help you tremendously. Okay?
Okay, well, thanks for all the information.
Thanks, Derek.
You're awesome.
Oh, man, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Man, a lot of kudos today. I'm liking my callers today. Thank you for the kudos. If you have something nice to say, please feel free to call at 844-44-Dr. Joe. If you don't have something nice to say, well, then don't call. But we're talking today about electromagnetic frequencies and how they affect the body. And we always knew how. We always knew they did. We didn't understand the mechanism behind it. And Dr. Paul, a researcher, a PhD, has found that it affects the calcium channels in the body and dumps tons of calcium into the cells, up to 7 million times more than if it's not being exposed to electromagnetic frequencies. Now, the research I read didn't show how much electromagnetic frequencies they were talking about, but what I saw in his studies, it's very usable. It's very practical. It's probably the things we're being exposed to every day. And when these calcium receptor sites are activated, when they're in the brain, they release something called neurotransmitters and neuroendocrine hormones. And these neuroendocrine hormones, when they're elevated in certain parts of the brain, have shown to produce a variety of neuropsychiatric effects. Things like anxiety, depression, even autism and Alzheimer's. Not saying it's causing it, but it's certainly making it worse. So why would you expose yourself to these things knowing that there's a potential downside? So, folks, I got to go to break. If you have a question, give me a call. The number is 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, tons of good information there. Plus, this show is going to be archived. drjoeesposito.com. If you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source, my books, send me questions. Website's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. drjoeesposito.com. Or just Google Dr. Joe. Also, we have an Amazon page, too, if you have an Amazon account. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. I'm going to be right back. Hey, folks, glad you could spend a little time with me today. I am Dr. Joe Esposito, the aforementioned. And we're talking today about electromagnetic frequencies, which I know is a little strange for a health and wellness show. But electromagnetic frequencies are something that we're all swimming in all day, every day, and it may be causing a lot of your healthcare problems. Now, let's assume it's not. Let's assume your specific healthcare problems are not related to the fact you're being exposed to things like cell phone radiation and Wi-Fi radiation. So what? So you're taking a little precaution, and it's fine. I always say I'd rather err on the side of caution than have a problem. And I tell people, too, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? I'm wrong. What I'm asking you to do to protect yourself against these electromagnetic frequencies that you're getting from cell phones and Wi-Fi, there's no downside. If you do it and it doesn't work, great, but it will work, and that's the cool part. And we talked about how the electromagnetic frequencies open up what's called calcium receptor sites, or VGCCs they're called, and it opens up the receptor site in the cell and dumps in tons of calcium. And when the calcium gets into the body, it produces something called superoxide, and superoxide when it interacts with nitric oxide, creates free radicals, and it breaks down the cell. And so a lot of chemistry there. But the bottom line is it's a problem. And there's also common heart problems that might be linked to electromagnetic frequency. Things like cardiac arrhythmias, which if the heart beats out of sync, it doesn't beat regularly, that can cause a problem. And that could even cause sudden death. If the heart's not beating right, it starts going out of sync, and it can then flutter and then stop. Atrial fibrillation. Premature atrial contractions and premature ventricle contractions, known as heart palpitations. And tachycardia, which is fast heartbeat, and bradycardia, which is slow heartbeat. Because when all this calcium gets dumped into the heart cells, it can cause the heart cells to malfunction. That's why they give you calcium channel blockers. The drug that blocks the calcium from getting into the cell as much as it's too much, and that can help with the irregular heartbeat. And so if we're having something like your cell phone that you put in your shirt pocket next to your heart, the cell phone is giving off electromagnetic frequencies, which then open up these calcium channels, which dump the calcium in, which cause the irregularities. Why don't you just not carry your cell phone in your shirt pocket? And don't put it in your front pocket either, because it can lower your sperm count. Not only your sperm count, but your sperm mobility. And so you don't want to do that either. So what I do, people say, what do you do, Dr. Joe? I want to do what you do. Whenever I go somewhere, if both my hands are full, I'll put it in my pocket. I usually put it in my back pocket if I have my cell phone. But as soon as I can, I take it out of my pocket and I just carry it. So if I'm going from my office to my car to my house, if I'm going shopping somewhere, I'll carry it in my hand. It's just that simple. It's getting it further away from my body. And I don't want to have it as close to my body as possible because the closer it is, the longer it's there, the more damage it's going to cause. So people who suffer with these conditions many times are taking medication for it. So they're taking the calcium channel blockers and other medications, but it's not treating the cause. Now, your problem may not be caused by electromagnetic frequencies, but give it a shot. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what? So if you have any kind of heart or brain-related problems, because there's a lot of calcium calcium receptor sites in the brain and in the heart, and so just take it away. It's very simple. And there's simply no question about it. These things can trigger these problems. And the drug is not treating the cause of the problem, so if you really want to get to the cause, that may be the issue. Because sometimes people say to me, well, Dr. Joe, what if I do everything you say? I get my spine lined up properly. I get chiropractic care. I have good digestion, no acid reflux, no heartburn. I'm taking Dr. Joe's Super Greens. I'm taking Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I take other supplements, omega-3, vitamin D. What if I still get sick? Well, there's other things that we're going to be exposed to that we can't control. Like right now I'm in a studio. There's electromagnetic frequencies everywhere. But if I'm keeping my body as healthy as possible, I'm less likely to have the problems. I enjoy, going on Facebook and looking at some of the people I went to high school with. And most of them don't look that good. And I'm thinking, you were the cute cheerleader and you were the handsome basketball football player. You don't look so good now, cowboy, do you? Time hasn't been your friend. So it's I get a little psyched out of it. I go, oh, look at me. I still look great. And you guys maybe not so much. But I try to do everything I can to protect myself. Do I get a cold every now and then? Yeah, I do. Do I get a headache every now and then? Yeah, I do. Do I have back pain? Yeah, I do. But I do everything I can to fix it as soon as possible so that it's less likely to become an issue. Now, we had a caller who didn't want to come on the air. I'll take some. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. And that number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, because we send out lots of good information on those two. And then if you send me your email address, go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and send me your email address, we will put you on our newsletter list. And we send out, I don't know, every couple of weeks we send out something. But when I do a live lecture, we promote it. If there's something comes up and my show gets preempted, maybe it's a hurricane or something, we send out a message. Hey, listen, you may not catch the show today because Dr. Joe got preempted. So it's a good way to stay in touch. And then if you have questions, you can always send them to me through the website if you don't want to go on the air, just like this one caller did. And the question was, what about hypoglycemia? Hypoglycemia is when your blood sugar drops and you get tired. And many times you'll get brain fog, you'll get dopey, and it can be very dangerous because you may be driving, or you may be walk into a wall or fall down a flight of stairs because the hypoglycemia, the brain, as well as the other cells, is not getting the proper amount of glucose. Glucose is the type of sugar that feeds your cells. If you eat fructose, it has to be converted into glucose. If you eat maltose, galactose, it has to be converted into glucose in order to be utilized by the cells. Hypoglycemia is when your glucose levels in your cells drop. So a couple of things you might want to consider. Number one is a high-fiber diet. A while ago, I answered this question for somebody who was diabetes. But fiber is going to slowly push the food through your colon and give you a slow release of sugar throughout the day. If you do something like a soda, that's just bam, this rush of sugar. The pancreas releases insulin. Insulin drives the sugar into the cells, and then the sugar drops because it's out of the blood into the cells. You got to keep a steady supply in the blood to go into the cells. So fiber is going to be your key, and that's what? Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, right there. So eating a more plant-based diet is going to be great. Animal products don't have fiber in them. So if you're eating a lot of meats and dairy products, many times you're going to see constipation. In fact, one of my coworkers stopped me before I went on the air today and said a friend of theirs had surgery, and after the surgery, they give you a lot of muscle relaxers, and that can cause the colon to relax, which can then cause constipation. The colon needs to be a muscle and contract. And so they said they tried magnesium. I said, you try a little bit more because too much magnesium will give you diarrhea. But I have something called Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser, and that's on my website and on Amazon as well, on my Amazon page. And it gently causes the muscles to start contracting. And that's very, very good to help with that. But as a chiropractor, I always check the nerves in the low back because the nerves in the low back control the colon, sex organs, and bladder. So you might have gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, urinary, sexual problems because of pinched nerves in the low back. And nerves go to organs. And as long as you know where the nerve goes, you can tell the patient what organ is going to be affected. And every single day, patients talk to my doctors and go, how did you know I had that? We said, well, we know this nerve goes to that organ, and you have a pinched nerve here. Folks, got to go to break. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, 24 hours a day, is there for you, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. Make sure you follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, I'm so glad you spent a little time with me today. We're talking today about electromagnetic frequencies, things that are given off by things like your cell phone, your Wi-Fi. And a lot of research, years ago, I talked about this. And I remember somebody, my IT guy at the time, said, you know what you're talking about? That's crazy. It has absolutely no effect whatsoever. Well, guess what? Dr. Joe was right. A lot of research. In fact, Dr. Paul, PhD, P-A-L-L, has come out with how it actually affects the body. And it's really neat. Like I said, I think this guy should win a Nobel Prize for his research. It's pretty crazy. I want to go back into that. Before I do, I want to cover this. I know I covered it on a show a while ago, but effective January 1st, it's a new law that's coming out. Accredited hospitals will need to follow the new Joint Commission pain standards. If you've watched the news lately, you know there's a big issue on opioid addictions and people taking opioids. And opioids, the way they kill you is they shut down your body. You stop feeling pain, but your body starts to shut down and your heart can stop, your brain can shut down, and that's how you die. And that's why so many people are dying from these things, because once you start taking them, your body stops producing slows down its production of its own natural opioids. Opioids reduce pain. And if you try to come off it, your brain isn't producing its own opioids, your body isn't, and so now you say, every little thing hurts, so then you want to keep taking it. That's called an addiction. And so with all the people dying from the opioids, the government, the Joint Commission, has come up with some new standards, which actually I like. And I want to talk about this for just a second, and then I'll go back to what I was talking about earlier. The changes, new standards will require hospitals to provide non-pharmacological pain treatment methods. Alternatives that can include physical methods such as acupuncture and chiropractic therapy. It will also require hospitals to facilitate practitioner and pharmacist access to prescription drug monitoring programs. This way you can't doctor hop and go from one to another. So it's great that the hospitals are finally starting to realize that, listen, we can't allow these opioids to just keep getting into the public. And so what else can we do? And the obvious thing is things like chiropractic, acupuncture. And that gets to the cause of the problem. And then hopefully we never have to put them on the opioids so we can avoid all those addictions and also those unnecessary deaths. And not, the actual death itself, but death of relationships, death of jobs, death of your financial situation. So is metaphorical death as well. So I'm very happy to report that once again, Dr. Joe was right, and that we're seeing that everyone is trying to get on board now with it. So what I want to say, if you work for a hospital or if you need help setting up these new guidelines, go to my website, send me an email, drjoeesposito.com, doctor's offices as well, and I can help you set up the protocols that may help you meet the accreditation. We're not exactly sure what the protocols are, exactly what it is, but I know how to set up the basis. And a lot of times what happens with these things is they'll say, what are you doing to meet the guidelines? And you can say, well, we've done this and this and this and this. And the government will say, okay, as long as you're moving in the right direction, you can avoid a lot of fines and legal issues as well. So if you work for a hospital or doctor's office, if yourself, of course, I'd recommend you do seek out the alternative health care if possible, things like chiropractic care. If you do have neck pain or back pain, digestive problems, I want to suggest that to you, but I want to make myself available to all the people that work in hospitals as well who listen to this show because, as you know, this show is heard around the world. So back to electromagnetic frequencies. Electromagnetic frequencies can also increase man's risk of infertility, especially if he wears his cell phone near his groin, or how about uses a laptop on your lap? A woman's risk of breast cancer is higher if she tucks the cell phone into her bra. Studies have linked low-level electromagnetic radiation, the exposure from cell phones, to an 8% reduction in sperm motility and a 9% reduction in sperm viability. So you're affecting your sperm. Now, that's a big issue because every generation since our great-grandfathers, actually our grandfathers, sperm has been dropping dramatically, sometimes up to 50% less than your grandfather. Those are some serious numbers. So, I mean, I don't want to, be a purveyor of doom and gloom, but what happens if this continues? It's going to be a real serious problem for humanity. If every 2 or 3 generations we drop the sperm count 50%, it becomes a big problem. And plus, we have a lot of other things as well that we're involved with, but that's just one of them. So Wi-Fi-equipped laptop computers have also been linked to decreased sperm motility and an increase in the sperm DNA fragmentation, ready for this, after just 4 hours of use. So, gentlemen, you sit on your Wi-Fi laptop and you're playing on your phone or your laptop. After 4 hours, we start to see a change in the sperm. In regard to breast cancer, the most common location for breast cancer is the upper outer quadrant, okay? So that's kind of like underneath your armpit. Cancer located in the upper inner quadrant is more likely related to things like cell phone radiation. So as we wrap up the show, by the way, we're going to archive this show on my website with hundreds of other shows. So you can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, and listen to hundreds of shows, my gift to you, no charge. We have videos of my live lectures that I do. If you want to see some really cool stuff, watch my videos. They're a lot of fun. You get to see my pretty face. And that's a lie right there. You get to see my face. But we give you a lot of good information. I can show you things I can't show you on the radio because some people are visual learners. And some things have to be seen, too. Those are on the website, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to order Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser, my books, all of those information about them and ordering is on the website, drjoeesposito.com. Also on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, it might be easier for you. Just go to Amazon and have it shipped to you. Either way. And I recommend you do the Super Greens, the Essential Source. It's the minimum amount of nutrients that you need for a day. And do it for a month. But make sure you do it. Every day, a scoop of each. It's a powder. I shake it up with coconut milk or almond milk and drink it at least once a day, sometimes twice a day if I need it. And notice how you feel. After about a week, you'll start to say, most people do, almost everyone, I feel a little bit more energetic. My digestion's a little better. I don't want to go home and go to bed at night. I want to go out and do things. So your family, your friends, your significant others, they'll be sending me flowers. So anyway, those are on the website, drjoeesposito.com. I really think it's something you should try. So how do we lower our exposure? If you have wireless baby monitors, maybe swap them out for a hardwired one. Carry your cell phone in a bag instead of your body. If you can put it on airplane mode, that's a better thing if that's possible. Turn off your Wi-Fi at night. That's what I do. I'm not home that often, but when I am home, if I have to use the Wi-Fi, it's there. When I go to bed at night, I have a shut-off switch. I hit it, shuts off the Wi-Fi, which is great. Use your laptop on a table rather than on your lap, because if it sits on your lap, it increases the magnetic frequencies. Use your cell phone with a headset or in speaker mode, a wired headset, not a wireless headset, and keep the phone as far away from your body as possible. using landlines whenever possible. A lot of people call me on my cell phone. If I'm at the office, I'll say, let me call you right back on landline. Folks, if you missed the show, you missed an amazing show. The good news is it'll be on the website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. If you have questions, go to my website. You can send me questions through the website, drjoeesposito.com. Read the articles that I have, listen to radio shows, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. We want to be your doctors. My team of doctors want to do everything we can to help you get well and stay well. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for telling your friends. Catch you next time.